Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on News X. Taking the efforts to forward on climate war, Prime Minister Modi has announced in COP26 summit the Panch Amrit. The net zero commitment by 2070 is amongst the 5 new climate change targets India has announced. India has 4 other commitments which all have to be achieved by 2030 are increasing non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatts, fulfilling 50% of energy requirements from renewable sources, reducing carbon intensity of economy by 45% and reducing total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons. On the other hand, Chinese President Xi Jinping hasn't addressed the COP26 UN climate talks in person or via satellite, but sent the written note instead. Although China is responsible for almost 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions, but President Xi Jinping has not made any new commitments on climate change. He's called on developed nations to provide support to help developing countries do better in dealing with this issue. Joining us at this point is Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, former diplomat. We also have Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian, joining us live. Sharat Kohli, Senior Economist, also joins us live, as does Sadanand Tiwari, Vice President, Sales, EKI Energy. Jimmy, let me, in fact, begin with Professor Nalapat on this particular issue. Since Professor Nalapat, we were speaking, of course, about what perhaps India's pitch will be at COP26. Now that we've heard out the Prime Minister, now that we've heard out, the buzzwords that India has put forward in this important summit, do you believe we have struck the right pitch? Are we prepared to lead the world in issues like climate change?
I believe we are doing so, and the Prime Minister has given a definite date for this net zero target. In fact, a lot of people were not expecting India to give a definite date. There were many groups in India who were against giving a definite date, and if they wanted a date, they wanted actually 10 years later than the date that the Prime Minister has indicated, 2070. So the reality is that is a question which has been answered in the affirmative. India has also given a clear date for net zero. And may I point out, it is the earliest practicable date. Unless you want to consign hundreds of millions of Indians into poverty, this is the only practicable date. And may I also say that we have got 1/6 of the world's population and not even 1/20th of the world's emissions. So we are not really the polluter that China is, although several individuals delight in linking India and China together, and the Chinese take pleasure in that. It's always India and China, as though India is the polluter that China is, and China has the very low pollution levels that India has got. Well, that delinking is now over with COP26, I'm happy to say. Partly because of the Prime Minister's very effective intervention, and partly because Mr. Xi Jinping, I think wisely, chose to stay away rather than face a barrage of attacks. Because today I can tell you, the world is a little more attentive, if I may say so, a little more realistic about China than the world was some years ago when the previous such conference took place. They were rosy-eyed, they were romantic. Today there is no question of being romantic about China. And the objectives of China are very, very clear. Inside China itself, we've got that huge amount of coal being used, and that's going to continue to be used. There was a cosmetic that we're not going to fund any more coal-based projects in other countries, but they're going to fund projects in their own country, and they're going to fund the existing projects. So the reality is the Prime Minister has indicated the earliest possible date, and the other 4 targets are also very close. I mean, 2030 is almost upon us. So I would say that India has gone much more than the extra mile. The Prime Minister has made that explicitly clear, that he was willing to walk that mile. And the only expectation that he has now is that those countries that are talking big will also act big. I mean, specifically, for example, in terms of giving assistance and in terms of sharing technology. It's very important that the richer countries contribute to countries like India. As for China, yes, it's no longer a developing country. It comes out with a begging bowl whenever they see, that there is a question of getting some money for free. But the reality is China is no longer a developing country. India is still a developing country, the only one of this size.
Absolutely. Of course, being a developing country as well, but still making this speech, listing out these 5 priorities which India has adopted and adapted, but also that the world can follow through on. Is this pretty significant, Ambassador Prakash?
Uday, good afternoon. What a transition, what a journey. From being dubbed as a naysayer even 10 years ago, today India is the leader. And, Prime Minister Modi has thrown a frontal challenge to the developed world, as Professor Nala Patay said. Guys, we are walking the talk, now you do so. Uday, what is the issue at hand? The issue at hand is development, or what is the issue that the developed world has made is development versus environment. What we need is development with green environment. Now that is the big issue, that's the big challenge. The developed world has polluted the environment. They had cheap energy, they did not care for anything. They polluted the environment. Now they are comfortably sitting at $50,000-$60,000 per capita. They are uncomfortable with the developing world also going ahead with economic growth. So this answer is green technologies, climate justice, as Prime Minister calls it, climate finance. Now that is where they are becoming stingy. If the developing world has to adapt, and adaptation is key, then you need green technologies, then you need finance, and the finance has to be paid, they have to cough up because the polluter pays. That is the whole challenge. Prime Minister has shown the way. He has demonstrated that already we are the fourth largest renewable energy capacity in the world, increasing sharply. Now it's for the world to follow, to take action. I hope that people are listening. As Boris Johnson said, we are 1 minute away from midnight. I don't know whether it will help, but it should.
Yes, no doubt. It should, and perhaps it will as well, is what we truly hope. But as far as those 5 commitments are concerned, Ambassador Prakash, do you believe those are very achievable climate change targets, and also something which other world countries can also take a leaf out of our book from, perhaps make their own such targets as well, because it's not just binding on India, it should be binding on the entire world?
Well, when India set a target of 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022, there was nobody taking seriously. Now we have attained the target, or we are going to attain the target by 2022. Now we are talking of a 500 gigawatt target by 2030. We will do that. This is not something in the distant future. This is 8 years from now, and it is very much will be within the memory of countries, and India has an absolute record of honoring its commitments. So, and we are honoring it not because we are doing a favor to the world, we are doing a favor to ourselves. We are one of the most vulnerable countries climatically speaking, and we are doing that, and we have demonstrated the capacity. I have no doubt that the carbon intensity will be reduced by to 45%, and we will achieve the targets. Already through the International Solar Alliance, we are marching ahead. We will continue to do so.
Okay, well, we certainly hope that we will continue to do so. Sadanand Tiwari, come in here. Are these targets realistic? Are they achievable? Are they pragmatic and practical? And Sadanand Tiwari, as far as the climate is concerned, do you believe we are ticking now the right boxes?
Well, very good afternoon, everyone. Well, I mean, if I want to frame this in one sentence, this is the best time that where our Prime Minister just came to the open world, and all the targets were open in front of everyone, right? And I think this is a perfect time because, as it was rightly said, when India gave a target for solar, for renewable electricity, for particular, it was a very aggressive one, and nobody believed on us. But considering these factors, this is the correct time. I think we have the technologies. We have done the homework, because in terms of technology transfer also, we are in a very good position. So these targets are pretty much achievable, because also let's not forget the awareness part. Right now, considering everything, like we have think tanks, we have NGOs. If I remember, if we go back, nobody was taking climate change that seriously. Considering this government and the initiative that this government has taken, we can see that yes, there is an awareness in the individuals where we talk about climate change. That was pretty much needed, and that's why coming from that climate change space, I am particularly very happy to see these kind of targets, because nobody expected that India will come up with. And mind you, these figures are very achievable. Let's not forget that these figures are absolutely achievable. And also one more thing I would like to add here is about the climate finance, because if we go back to the earlier COP, I think it was in 2015, COP 15, we can say that it was told that the developed countries will be getting around $100 billion by 2020, but that number there was nothing near to that number that we received. So and now the pressure was on the developed countries, because they pledged to give that $100 billion, to reduce that climate change risk and everything. So fortunately, I think Canada has already agreed that they will be mobilizing this $100 billion with some other developed countries I think by 2023. So we'll be waiting for that particular moment also, where we will be getting more funds, more technology transfer from the developed countries as well.
Yes. As far as, of course, now, Sharad Kohli, the economics of it all is concerned as well. Why climate change, of course, became something which was shunned, because the costs of it were too high, which is why a lot of countries would shun it, which is why a lot of developed nations would not take on board, these very stringent sort of regulations and targets which would come as part of accords like the Paris one. However, India has changed all of that. We've proven that it can be economical also, to take on renewable energy and to have our commitment towards tackling climate change. How do you see the economics of these targets which have been announced by the Prime Minister?
Well, I think Prime Minister has been very open about it today. And if you listen to the whole speech that he gave, I think $1 trillion is what he said, which the developed world must contribute towards the whole initiative. So I think, the number is very much there, $1 trillion. But I would, if you pardon me, I would like to play devil's advocate here, because, these conferences, COP26, and then, ever since they began probably in 1992, if I remember correctly. So I think, what has been achieved? I remember the word of the Nobel Prize, young girl, blah, blah, blah. So I think we need to get out of blah, 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 because there are a lot of commitments made, there are a lot of promises made. And, 13,000 tons of carbon dioxide was emitted in the air when 400 private jets landed in Glasgow on Sunday or Monday, whenever they started. So, so many people coming there, discussing, everybody agreeing that, okay, fine, this is the need of the hour. 1.5 degrees Celsius, let that be the target, and so on and so forth. But the fact is, Uday, when they go back home, when they go back to their respective countries, there is very little done at the ground level. I'm not talking of India. India, of course, has made one of the best progress, in terms of the entire bunch of countries. India has been very honest in two things. One, the Prime Minister was honest in saying $1 trillion is what we need. Second, 2070, it is probably, we are talking of half a century away from today, but at least there is a date which is done by certain mathematical calculations, certain algorithms, certain scientific methods are applied, and that is how you are able to project a date that yes, 2070. So India has been honest, but look at China and Russia, who didn't bother to attend the whole summit. They preferred to do it virtually simply because they've got no answers to questions being put forth by the rest of the world as to what they have actually done. The fact of the matter is that the consumption of coal in China today, cities like Beijing, cities like Shanghai, in winters, they are not able to breathe. They are worse than Delhi for that matter. We take Delhi is the most polluted city in the country. The air quality is already going down. But China has no answers to the question. So I think there has to be a regulatory framework which is internationally applicable, Uday. Here is the solution, because you can't just meet in a conference, decide something. Fine, there are sanctions, there are certain, international diplomatic restrictions or some kind of foundation which can probably stop a country from not doing something or doing something. But the fact of the matter is, there has to be a strict penalty-based enforcement network on countries, which I think is an impossible task, because United Nations as a body, in my mind, has not succeeded in achieving what it was meant for. So who would regulate that? I mean, who would impose penalty on whom? Can a UN impose penalty on China? The answer is no. Can a UN impose penalty on America? The answer is no. So in the absence of a regulatory framework, Uday, every country have their own budget restriction. I cannot switch from fossil fuel to solar energy or to wind energy overnight. I need a lot of investment. There is a lot of transition. In fact, of late, when we faced the power crisis, the energy crisis, Uday, I remember I was on your channel. I think I was with you only. When the world faced, even Europe today, look at the energy prices. And one of the reasons for that is poor transition from fossil fuel to renewable energy. That is one of the prime reasons. So the transition has been poor. The switch to renewable energy has been unplanned. It is not very well coordinated. There is resistance faced from so many sectors of the economy. So all said and done, Uday, my hopes from COP26, minus the Prime Minister of India, of course. Prime Minister of India made a very honest statement, which I want to put my appreciation on record. But apart from that, my hopes is nothing beyond the photo ops which are happening over there.
Okay. Let me also, in fact, quickly get in Ambassador Prakash at this point on, of course, whether this Amrit Tattva now is going to change the way India is perceived in the world. As you said, it's been what a remarkable change, from, of course, us being slammed, us being attempted to be bullied, to us actually now setting the benchmark pretty high.
No, nothing succeeds like success, Uday. The world is smart enough to see whether one is talking or acting. We are acting now. And we are acting in our enlightened self-interest and in the interest of the world. Because there is no choice. 1.2 degrees increase in temperature is the minimum. I mean, it will go beyond 2 degrees and the consequences are horrendous. So it is literally now or never. And the kind of measures that Prime Minister have announced are very doable. So India's credibility has been established, not just in the area of climate action, but even in the what we have been talking about on your channel about controlling the pandemic. So this Prime Minister means what he says and the world listens. I have no doubt about it. And last point, in all international conferences, there is some amount of rhetoric, granted. And not every international conference produces results, but it's a process. And G20, in my estimation, is the most democratic and representative body that we have today, which has delivered generally under crisis or under pressure and has delivered this time again. Uday?
Indeed. Let me in fact also ask Professor Nalapat on that. Professor Nalapat, as far as the world is concerned, do you believe the perception will finally change vis-a-vis India? And now will there also be pressure on other developing nations, like Pakistan, like other African nations, also to shape up and meet these targets?
Hello, you recall that we were talking about lifestyle. I mean, we are talking, for example, about the consumption of red meat and how that, because of that, the carbon footprint becomes very huge. Well, the Prime Minister has front and center mentioned lifestyle. And he has mentioned the need for lifestyle changes as part of the drive towards a sustainable environment. And India is an example in that kind of a sustainable lifestyle. And that's why our per capita levels of pollution are so low. Secondly, a lot of changes have taken place. And after 2014, after Narendra Modi came as Prime Minister, And that is that a lot of the blockades that were there towards production and innovation have been removed. There were so many blockades to domestic production, domestic innovation, because, it's much more profitable, especially if you travel a lot to Switzerland or countries like that. That is much more profitable to import than to produce locally. But now those blocks are being removed, and now there's a lot of public attention about any such attempt at blockade. There's public attention given to young scientists. NewsX has done an amazing amount of work in giving attention to that. So that is also happening, which is for the good. And that's why that explains, frankly, the absence of blockages explains the good performance. Because if we had no blockages in the very beginning, India would have been much bigger than the Chinese economy by now. Secondly, we were a coal superpower, and we made very bad use of that coal. Of that coal. In fact, for a considerable period of time, something I can't understand, our coal has been sitting in the ground, under the ground, and you got huge amounts of coal being imported. I can't understand it, at a huge cost of foreign exchange. Now we are also a solar superpower. Let's not squander the opportunity that we have in solar power that we squandered in the case of our own domestic coal reserves. And let's ensure that this opportunity is seized. The Prime Minister has understood this challenge. He is going ahead very, very fast in trying to seize it. And that's very important because after all, that is the future. If you look, for example, at things like rainwater harvesting. Now we have a water problem coming up. You harvest rainwater, it makes sense. But still, it has not really caught on. Maybe in a few states, Tamil Nadu, some extent Kerala, but not anywhere. So, and the last thing is, of course, vegetation. Now you go to Bombay, you see trees made of concrete. You see concrete circles and trees planted on them. For heaven's sake, if you had planted real trees, it would have been much simpler and cheaper than putting these concrete monstrosities here and basically, making us now in shock that do you really believe that trees painted on concrete are as important as real trees? So I think we need a change in consciousness down the line. The Prime Minister is definitely conscious of it. I think large elements in the government are conscious of it. Large elements of civil society are conscious of it. And that has to spread down the line.
Yes, no doubt. Let me quickly get back Sadanand Tiwari. Sadanand Tiwari is someone who, of course, is in a renewable energy company. What more needs to be done? Do you believe we have ticked off the right boxes? But what's scope for improvement in the future? What further incentives would you want? What more can be done? What more should be done? Sadanand, can you hear me? Sadanand Tiwari, are you there with us? I think we've lost him. Sharad Kohli, let me draw you in on what further perhaps needs to be done, and also now, in your opinion, what the relevance of the outcomes of COP26 will be going forward, not just for us, but the entire world.
I think the bare minimum, Uday, which COP26 should achieve is that when these leaders, they go back home, they must remember the commitments they have made. They must be conscious of the fact that, each one is contributing to this problem. It is not just one country or two countries or three countries. Each country, each citizen for that matter of this planet is directly or indirectly responsible for the mess which has been created over so many years now. So I think what needs to be done is that first come first, because I come from a world of economics. First things first is you need money. Unless these developed nations, they decide to allocate the budgets from their respective pockets, I think it will be very difficult to move ahead with your foot on the accelerator. You can only probably wait and watch and do those little bit things here and there, which our domestic budgets can finance. But big steps, major steps, they need a lot of money. We all know that. I mean, if you need to switch from coal to, let's say, solar energy, look at the cost of, if you want to plant a solar plant on top of your terrace, go and find out the price. You might find it economically unviable. That is where money is required to subsidize, to research, for installations, for infrastructure. You need a lot of money, and which is why Prime Minister said what he said, that we need $1 trillion if you really want infrastructure and a smooth transition from fossil fuels, from traditional fuels to renewable energy. I think that is the need of the hour. And I think the moment money starts flowing in, Uday, there is no lacking in the commitment. I mean, everybody, we all breathe. We all face the problem. We all face climate change. We all face floods. We all face drought. We all face that El Nino effect. We all face it. I think the moment money comes in, I'll really be surprised if any government around the world doesn't want to do anything despite the money being there, especially the developing nations. I think as far as India is concerned, India is very determined, very prepared. I think Prime Minister has made it very clear. The moment money starts pouring in, it'll all be back on track, and we should be transitioning sooner than 2070, I can tell you with conviction, Uday.
All right. Well, let's in fact leave it at that.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.